And there we go. Okay, back to you, Allison.
Thank you. Okay, do you want to give me an there? Okay. Um, so just to give you an idea as to what we're going to do today, we want to have lots of time for conversations. So you'll see point five is update from project partners, which is fully a half of our time today. So we will try to stick to time. Um, Once we sort of come through our welcome, there'll be some updates. On what we've been doing. I'm going to share a bit of some research that we did last year, some updates on our communication cards and the action guide, and then we'll have time to talk amongst ourselves to share with each other what we've been doing, and then some time at the end to have some discussion about where we would like to go next. Next slide. Ah, so it's it's so important. I always feel it's especially important when we're in this weird kind of Zoom space that is both everywhere and nowhere to recognize and to feel the land under our feet, um, and to acknowledge that we're here really with the support of the University of British Columbia, which is on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Musqueam people, and more broadly, the Squamish and the Tsleil-Waututh nations as well throughout that Greater Vancouver region. And I would encourage you all, we can do that Zoom thing of sharing in the chat if you would like about on whose land you are currently. And if you're not familiar with nativeland.ca, this is a fantastic website. That's just a beautiful, it's like a portal to all kinds of learning that we can do about the land. And I think it's UBC that's pinned on this particular picture. And I would also like to share a little bit about the new space we have at UBC for the School of Nursing. Ah, so for those of you who don't know, the School of Nursing spent over 100 years in varied places on campus, but has just in the last few months taken home in a beautiful new building at the corner of Westbrook and University. It's called the Gateway Building. And one of the very special things about this building is that it was done in partnership with Musqueam. And one of the very important aspects of that was working with Musqueam artists. And this is a beautiful piece of art that sits at the entryway to the building. And I wanted to share with you from the artist statement. So, Coast Salish artist Thomas Cannell created this piece. It's called Honoring Ancestors. The beautiful base shape alludes to the ancient trees that once stood at this location. The steel woven motif mirrors a traditional Coast Salish handmade cedar hat, and hovering in the center of the base is a champagne bronze anodized aluminum Coast Salish ancestral face. It's beautiful. And for anyone coming out to UBC, I invite you to come on by and come find us and we can visit. Um, this is the first CRPD event we've had in a while. Dr. Mariko Sakamoto is an assistant professor in the School of Nursing at UVic, and she is our knowledge translation lead for the center. So I'm going to invite her now to share with you really the broad sweeps of what we're planning for the coming months.
Thanks so much, Allison. I was looking for my audio button, pardon me. So nice to see all of you here. Lots of familiar faces, which is always lovely. And special shout out to the members of the action group from the Flipping Stigma Project. I see so many of you here, and it's just great to see you again. Thanks for the introduction, Allison. I am from the School of Nursing in Victoria, but I am in Vancouver today, so on unceded Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh lands. I commute back and forth. I'm also the lead of the Dementia and Action Collab at UVic, which is a research hub that I lead and work in with others, including some here in this meeting today, where we're all about co-creating space for people who are older members of our community and who live with dementia. We do participatory research and a lot of work that's community engaged. And as Allison said, this is kind of a relaunch of our colloquiums that we've had in the past. hosted by the CRPID. And we're really excited today to be bringing back this today, yeah, a virtual space, and often I think in the future more of a virtual space, but really a time for all of us to come together for connection, for dialogue, and to share learning across our different communities. And as we look forward, we're really hoping that this could be something that might take place monthly or maybe every other month as we find a rhythm that works for everyone. But our main hope is that future connecting events like this will really be a flexible and inclusive platform where we can hopefully highlight a whole range of work, what kind of research in progress, community-based initiatives, and student-led projects. So maybe I'll turn it back to all of you, but that's really what we're hoping for as we move forward and get a chance to collaborate and learn together. Thanks, Alison.
Thanks so much, Mariko. Okay, we can go to the next slide. It's so good to see you all coming in. I'm so excited. We're going to begin. I mean, really, I think what we're doing is our UBC folks are providing us some updates as we get started, and then you will all provide some updates. I'm going to begin with a bit of an update of some research that we conducted last year and presented at the British Society of Gerontology last summer at the University of Surrey. So I've condensed it down, so it's not very long. It's about 10 minutes. But it is really about sharing the results of research that we did that looked at the policy context of work that we were doing here together in BC. So next slide. Nope, go back. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. From 2019 to 2025, the Building Capacity Project, and many of us are here today. It supported 11 community-based dementia-inclusive initiatives across the Lower Mainland. There were partnerships with churches, senior centers, adult day programs, neighborhood houses, grassroots citizen-led initiatives, and just all manner of people. This was asset-based community development work, which meant supporting groups to build on their existing strengths and to do what works best for them. And as many of you know, this resulted in memory cafes, community dialogues, intergenerational activities, gardening, arts programs, and much, much more. So we did all that, but where does it all fit? You know, in Canada, we say we're so proud of our universal healthcare system, but I think most of us know it is not a single system, and it is by no means universal. What we call continuing community care is really a patchwork of partially funded health and social services for older people, and it's care that varies across the country. Now I'll take the next slide. In 2019, the federal government implemented a national dementia strategy, and one of the key priorities was to implement and evaluate community programs that would support well-being for people living with dementia. So over that 6-year period until last year, with an annual budget of $4 million, the Dementia Community Investment funded over 30 projects across Canada, and building capacity was one of those. But now that federal funding is winding down. There's a little bit left to try out new ideas, but there's no funding to support projects in any ongoing way. In Canada, we often speak of ourselves as a country of perpetual pilot projects. For those of you who remember Monique Beguin, that was her line. Scaling and sustainability are well-known and unsolved problems. Next slide. So we did research to better understand the policy context of the Building Capacity Project, so we could use that understanding as a foundation while we're talking about how to extend and keep these kinds of initiatives going. So to do this, we conducted 19 interviews with 20 informants, one interview being 2 people from the same group. There were 6 interviews with leaders in the healthcare system, 6 interviews with people who were directors or advisors in relation to government policy and planning, and 7 interviews with advocates in the not-for-profit sector. These were people working at local, provincial, national, and in some cases international levels. So we analyzed the interviews looking for themes to address these 2 questions. How is the problem of dementia being defined? And what kinds of ideas or solutions are being proposed? So the next slide, please. In a nutshell, from a policy perspective, we learned that dementia is framed in different ways that often highlight its relationship to other social movements and policy initiatives. So I'm going to describe 4 of these, showing how these framings both limit action and that they can be used strategically to achieve particular goals. And then we'll point out a few implications. Next slide. Over half of the interviews identified dementia primarily in terms of social connection and community participation. One person described the need to frame dementia in relation to a public philosophy of community engagement that's low barrier, welcoming, and not diagnosing or defining you as having disability when you walk through the door. The same person described work that had been done in BC to build networks of connection amongst seniors serving organizations, but noted that dementia is explicitly absent from several of the bigger programs that are being extended across the province. Things like social prescribing or therapeutic activation programs that should have benefit for people with dementia, but they thought because of stigma and the general lack of knowledge and skill on the part of staff and volunteers that people with dementia were often not included. At the same time, though, informants thought that there was a particular window of opportunity at this particular moment. Groups that have taken advantage of that funding through the national strategy felt that there was more enthusiasm and confidence to keep on going. Now, the next slide. Most of the interviews also highlighted issues of social justice, with dementia stigma, ageism, and inequitable access to care and social support being common points of discussion. As one person said, it needs to be on par with the attention being paid to right now with equity and racism and reconciliation. It needs to be up there. In 2019, the Accessible Canada Act was passed, mandating the federal government that they needed to be barrier-free for people with any kind of impairment, including cognitive impairment. BC followed suit in 2021, creating its own act to align with those federal mandates, but with much broader application, including municipalities. So some informants saw opportunity to consider dementia under this umbrella. And we learned how some cities were using these accessibility mandates as a kind of policy lever. So in one place, for example, they were reviewing all the accessibility type work with a dementia lens, working really closely with the accessibility planner. Dementia would never be front and center, one person explained, but it could be a lens through which to enact other strategic priorities. For example, Vancouver's recent aging strategy has included dementia under a heading of diversity, equity, and inclusion, thus framing dementia as an equity-impacted identity. Next slide. While the language of dementia-friendly came up now and then in these interviews, what we heard more was people grappling with how to address dementia in light of aging as a more general issue. At one point, we did look, should we develop a separate dementia-friendly communities plan, said one person, or would it be part of our age-friendly strategy in general? We didn't go the route of developing a separate dementia-friendly plan because we see that part of it's similar, although it would be a little bit more specialized. Several of the informants identified the BC Healthy Communities Society as an important player in this arena. Since 2006, their Age-Friendly Communities program has provided small project grants to local governments. And if dementia-inclusive initiatives are considered at all, this is where they find a home. So there are no structures really in place that support dementia-friendly work apart from this. And if it happens, it's because of individual champions. And we heard more than once, when champions leave, it's hard to continue the momentum. For some, bringing dementia and aging together was seen as an opportunity. As one person said, all of our plans and strategies all intersect, so it's friendly for all. But at the same time, This fed into the perception that dementia was simply not on the radar. As one informant said, dementia is not bubbling up to policymakers as a big thing. Next slide. And finally, while we were asking about the policy context for community supports, there was no avoiding the idea that dementia is a medical diagnosis, and how to best organize health care for this growing population was a nagging question raised in many of the interviews. As one nurse explained, the answer was increasingly focused on cross-sectoral care integration as key in really connecting the community and healthcare services. So BC is in the process of implementing primary care reform, which is taking the shape of team-based care that aspires at least to be well connected with local community. One of the regional health authorities has had some success in linking this reform with emerging social prescribing initiatives. And the Ministry of Health is seeing social prescribing as a way to support older people to stay living at home. So they're channeling funding to local service organizations who then employ social connectors, who in turn help older people find the supports they need. So in theory, an approach like that might mean that we have an accountable and maybe even a sustainable system for people with dementia to be able to access social services and supports. But once again, we heard that the knowledge and comfort level of community connectors and healthcare providers for working with dementia is a recognized limitation. So, final slide. In sum, we learned that dementia is being addressed in light of broader policy frameworks that are currently facing our health and social care systems. And there's no shortage of these: community inclusion, social justice, aging, healthcare reform, and yet, as one person put it, dementia is kind of included, but there's this fracture where everyone thinks it's someone else's problem. Dementia, as a hot potato, someone said, tends to be invisible in policy. Even when it's included, it remains a low priority, and progress is limited by a general lack of knowledge and skill. So, while this is true, at the same time, it is also true that good work has been happening on the ground to build capacity for dementia inclusion. The fact that we sent out an email and all of you came today to sit here on Zoom together is a testament to that. So if we come back to the question we were asking, what would it take to keep going in light of the fact that there really is no plan coming from above? So that has led us to think about the possibilities of sustainability and that the thing about scaling up, about doing more. We're thinking about that differently. And in a way, we're answering a question with another question. Can we get out of the land of perpetual pilot projects by working from the ground up, translating a principles-based understanding of what works to inform a responsive policy context that could better support community innovation for dementia inclusion? And with that, I will leave us with that question as we move on. Thank you for letting me put on my researcher hat and sharing with you some of the work that we did. What's our next slide? What's next on our agenda? Am I handing it over to you, Eric?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Elson. So, with that question in mind, the question about how can we kind of work from the ground up on a principles-based approach to our work. I wanted to just tee up this video about the action guide. A lot of you BCP partners have got it and are using it, but others, a few might be less aware of what it is. But it was designed as the distillation of what we all learned about how to implement and sustain dementia inclusive initiatives, and as something that other communities, other groups could take a hold of and work with as they try to do similar things. So I'm just going to hit the button, or actually, I think Paulina, you're going to hit the button for this or video that kind of gives you an overview of what it is.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Building Capacity Project Action Guide. This practical resource was co-designed by a community action team that includes people with lived experience of dementia, community champions, and researchers. Its 7 modules provide strategies, principles, and tools to help build dementia-inclusive community capacity. Module 1, Partnership Development. This module focuses on building strong, respectful, and reciprocal relationships. It emphasizes the importance of developing a shared understanding of objectives and recognizes that relationships are as important as the work itself. The module includes identifying motivated partners, hosting initial gatherings, and bringing strong facilitation skills to diverse settings. Module 2, Community Engagement. Module 2 looks at the principle of nothing about us without us, which means meaningfully involving people with dementia in moving your idea into action. It focuses on developing inclusive messaging and creating fun and social spaces where people with dementia can live well. It uses a ladder of engagement that can start simply by promoting dialogue about dementia, and it includes taking advice from the community and for people living with dementia. Module 3, Convening a Community Conversation. This module delves into building upon the community's strength and convening a conversation about dementia from a strength-based perspective. It includes biomedical and experiential training about dementia, led by people living with dementia, and conversation starters to build confidence, address stigma, and surface initial questions and ideas for making spaces and programming more inclusive. Module 4, Visioning and Planning. Module 4 explains how to define your initiative, clarify your vision, and articulate a more concrete plan for development, including potential outcomes. This involves understanding key design principles and mapping community assets to draw on as you move your idea into action. Module 5, Implementation. This module is about turning your vision into reality. It involves identifying champions who are passionate about the project, sharing leadership, mobilizing assets, and adapting to change. It also involves training, coaching, and mentoring from others in your network who are doing similar work. Module 6, Evaluation. How do you measure success? This module explores developmental evaluation by identifying your audience, determining where you are in the innovation cycle, and choosing the right methodology. It also suggests creative ways to share results and evaluate your progress over time. Module 7, Sustainability. To conclude, we examine how to sustain your initiative long-term. This includes reaching out to new communities, providing evidence of program impact, building relationships with funders, and scaling up your initiative. It also involves looking for emerging opportunities and forming coalitions to influence policy and funding. In conclusion, this guide builds on the wisdom, experiences, and advocacy of people living with dementia, as well as the dedication of community members committed to raising awareness and creating change. We hope it inspires meaningful actions towards dementia education and inclusion.
I'm just going to stop sharing for a second, partly so I can update the slides, but also we should shout out all of the community action team members and also Heather and Sam, who I know are here. If all of you want to wave to recognize yourselves. Um, they played a huge role in making all that happen. And Andrea's voice in the video, it's a nice way to have her here while she's not with us today. Yeah, thank you, everybody. And I'm going to share again after I update this. And Eric's going to talk about the communication cards, which some of you might already have, and others will be getting them soon. Okay.
Okay. Great. Well, okay. Thanks, Paulina, for that shout out and to everybody that was involved. And so as you're scrolling to the next slide, just a segue. So you heard on the video that one of the parts of the action guide is about convening convenient community conversation, and like the next thing I'm going to talk about, these communication cards are a resource for like having like the video talked about conversation starters, and that's what this is. And it's a resource to kind of have a conversation about, what is dementia, what is or isn't dementia, how to be and how to be supportive and inclusive. And just wanted to also give a shout out to the West Side Seniors Hub, because Mary Jane and Lynn, I know, are both here, but just and to give you a bit of a background of about how this resource came about. It came out of a social media campaign that Heather and Sam and Lynn and Mary Jane and others worked on, that where this idea of having, as you see on the slide, the concept is having these stylized images as well as key messages. That idea came out of this original social media campaign and kind of morphed into this idea of using that sort of approach as a deck of cards that people could kind of take and use to have, to kind of launch. So and the kind of it built on those original messages coming out of the social media campaign, but also incorporated some of the key learnings coming out of our project, but also flipping stigma. And you might note it's pretty small text, but you might notice that each of those messages comes out of something somebody said, like Thais and Myrna and Granville are all, and Heather are all mentioned here. So yeah, if you want to flip to the next slide, just to drill down on this a little bit more. So they're organized into different categories, and also like with the cards, there's also a little it's like a handy dandy like guide that kind of gives you suggestions for how to like process suggestions, and it also take it for each of the cards. It gives a bit more context about what was meant, and also some reflective questions. And yeah, so that for those of you that don't have it in front of you, it's also available on that previous slide. It's the PDF version of it is like the link for that is on the previous slide. So we'll send the slides out. So just to look at the next one. So this is just a drill down on one of the cards that references the flipping stigma toolkit, and Myrna is talking about how as a way to learn, hearing the voices of people with dementia is much more impactful than just kind of reading and reading about dementia. And so just as a way, it's a way to kind of stimulate a conversation about like when it comes to training, like what's, what are what's, how do we go about that? How do we kind of incorporate those voices? And yeah, I think is there if yeah, if the next where are we with the next slide? So yeah, that brings us to the partner update. So yeah, I'm going to pass it back to Allison, who's going to facilitate this. But just to wrap up, like I think some of our partners are going to might be talking about how they use the guide or the cards, and yeah, as I was saying, those resources are available. We've got some extra copies of the guide. There's a few copies of the cards, but they're available online as well. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to you, Allison.
I'll catch it and pass it to Paulina.
Allison and I had a
Okay.
private chat where Allison was asking me if me and Maddie were handling this. So
Oh,
we
good. Okay.
Um, yeah, so this is the part of the meeting where building capacity partners will share what they've been up to the past 6 months to a year-ish. Some people might already know what others are up to, but these are these three questions that we prepared for each partner to share a few little things about. And I also have the list of the order. We just kind of arbitrarily picked. So Thais and Bray get to go first with Kit's House. And whenever you're ready, you can unmute and I'll pin your videos.
Hello, I'm Bray. I think I mean, Tice is here too, so Tice, feel free to jump in. Um, we have had a really great year, I think, right off the bat. And with that, I think it really comes with a big thank you, a really big thank you for this whole team, as well as the core UBC team, Allison, Maddie, Paulina, Eric, Andrea, Sam, for really being able to make this happen for us. So, yeah, we'll just preface with thank you. And with that came both Memory Buddy. So at Kids House, we have Memory Buddy, which is a dementia initiative where we pair trained volunteers with individuals living with dementia. We've kind of expanded it to cognitive upkeep, any kind of cognitive impairment decline, just to keep it inclusive and help as many as we can. However, going back to the thank, we, because of that, have been able to, for the last year, operate our family and friend caregiver connector program, which is a United Way funded program. So we were awarded a full-time position for that, and I'm the coordinator. I run that program. And then akin to that is our Memory Buddy program. So through this program, it's been able to reach connections. It's been able to reach people that we haven't been able to reach in the past, but also those that we were unaware that needed the support. And so a lot of that came connections cross-sectorally, cross-city-wise, you name it. One of the biggest ones in the last year has been the Family Caregivers of BC. Through their platform and their resources, they have, a plethora of information, a plethora of programs, which kind of just connects us further. Other neighborhood houses have been really instrumental in this, particularly Shelley from Mount Pleasant, Shelley Schnee. She has really helped kind of develop not even pilot, but like we're saying, sustainably make our caregiver support groups happen. So in the last year, we're actually coming up on almost a year and a bit of being able to run these programs funded. Which has been just so amazing. And then in that has been, other partnerships like the libraries, facilities who are able to help us expand the possibilities of our programs in a dementia-friendly way, that we are having accommodative, accessible, dementia-friendly space with the awareness coming with it, the education coming with it. And that has been huge. It's been, you know, amazing. And again, growing from that, other catchment areas, cross-reach networks would like to learn and be able to integrate some of the memory buddy principles, some of those techniques, some of the, not just the procedures, but the way it operates to help others in the community. And that, could be macro, it could be very minor scale, just one individual in a certain catchment area. But because of the research, because of the information, because of the support and the credibility that's come from the CAT team, all of you folks here today, Memory Buddy specifically in the program has grown from 10 being like our little pilot that we started with to now we actually have about 25 active Memory Buddy volunteers, about 15 active Memory Buddy participants, and that kind of fluctuates. It comes and goes as we kind of all are aware. And so over the year, we've had about 30 folks specifically paired, which indirectly we're supporting 30 caregivers. And this is just from a dementia perspective. So, I think that really speaks to the capacity that's been able to come of this, especially with the support groups. It's kind of another layer of respite in a self-promoting way for caregivers. So that's kind of where we're at. And again, a lot of that has to go back to the credibility that we've been able to get that Kids House now has because of the action guide, because of all of your lovely information and insight. Kind of just briefly to touch on the challenges and kind of to call for support is your insight and your advice in how we continue to sustain Memory Buddy, especially kind of as we get into some different financial fiscal outcomes and whatnot, the constraints of on the families, the low-income families that we're serving, as well as us as an organization to be able to provide those resources for individuals, especially from like a business perspective, how we can inform, educate, and bring awareness to dementia from a business scale, from us as a grassroots project to a business corporate scale so that people know what they're helping. And maybe that's asking, for visibility or advocacy or partnership-based growth, but that's some of the faces or the challenges we face in being able to continue to provide that awareness, support, intersectional program that we love and are so thankful to be able to have. Thais, did I miss anything there?
Beautiful. And fresh news, we just got the confirmation from United Way. We got the funding for the next 2 years renewed. Yeah, so I think that's a huge reason to celebrate. And we are in the sustainability phase, I would say. So now how we keep this going successfully. So thank you all for supporting us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Bray. Thank you, Thais. Congrats on more funding. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to hand it off to Myrna now. And also, I didn't mention before, but Maddie's going to be sending everybody little messages to let you know how much time you've got left in your thing, just as a guidance. But Myrna, please.
Hi, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. Just to see everybody's faces again is just so joyous. Purple Angel Cafes are alive and well and growing and expanding and serving a purpose not served by the medical system. Actually, doctors and the hospital have been referring people to us. The day programs that the hospitals used to run here quit very suddenly, phoning people the night before there was to be no more daycare programs at the hospital, and people are just sick about that. It seems that the United Way had been in touch with the facilities and told them there was no more funding, but instead of acting immediately and letting people know immediately, often it was the night before. Our group makes joy. And at our previous facility, it had stairs going down to the washroom. And most of my people that come to our support that actually have a diagnosis are men. And I found it worried me every time they had to go down a flight of stairs to use the washroom. So we asked the senior center in our town if they would host us. And apparently they did get a grant from United Way to offer us a venue And sometimes we get refreshments and sometimes they forget. And there's some politics when you're trying to operate within somebody else's venue. We also operate in Pitt Meadows. And this year, very recently, about a month ago, we opened another group at a church that has access to outside. So it's the win of everything. It's a gated area outside. It's a comfortable room, and it's going to be mostly care partners, but there will never be a reason that people with dementia can't come along with them. Last year, there was a World Walk for Dementia sponsored by Purple Angel in England, and it's now around the globe. And so we participated by having a barbecue. We had hot dogs along the Fraser River. We had live music, and people came out of the buildings nearby to join us in our walk. It was a delightful day. Our fifth annual, I think, I can't remember if it's our fifth or our sixth, Christmas in July was held. Santa even came. It was just so fun. Um, every year I do evaluations thanks to the learning from the guides that we put forward at the beginning of this, and they're very helpful. Um, securing funding is my thorn in my side. Um, we have venues, and that's the best part, but it's really hard to carry on without funding. So most of our funding comes from the other committees I belong to and the work I do with research. So that's keeping us going. I have to tell you about an event we just had on this past Monday. Anya, who's not here today, and I put on an event called Game On, and I think it's Connect, Play, and Think. A lot of people thought it was just going to be a dementia event because of my name, I think, but it was a brain and body event. We talked about bladder health. We talked about brain health. We talked about exercise and the value. It was absolutely the most stunning event that we've hosted, and Anya was amazing. It was kind of based on a Jeopardy thing that Paulina, I think you and Anya had come up with. It was amazing. People were just thrilled by it. And thank you to this team and kudos to Anya and Pauline for coming up with the idea. It really struck everybody in wanting to talk. So there were little groups that would discuss the question for 5 or so minutes and give us their answer, and then there'd be lots of crosstalk. Oh, it was good. I wished it had been recorded. I'm also trying to get another group. I was asked by somebody if we could start another group in Mission, which is about a 40-minute drive for me. My plan is not to operate it on a long-term basis, but to get it started and then to train somebody to take it over. And so that's going to work out really well. My heart would be to open a group in Poco. That's where I spent a great deal of time, and I'm having a really hard time finding a venue because I'm told that the government's doing all of that work. So fingers crossed, everybody, that we can find a space there. It's exhilarating for me. It's given me a purpose. I can't say enough about it. Also, our action guide I have used when I went to be a spokesperson in Abbotsford last year. They were starting groups there too. So I'm getting the information around, and there's more people interested, and that's all thanks to you guys, because you guys gave me a purpose. You educated me on how to understand all of that and how to build. And it's a lifesaver for me. So thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Myrna. There's a lot of thanks being given to the research team, but it goes right back out at everybody who's here today because none of this would exist without all of the partners and working together as a team. And also anyone who hasn't been to the Christmas in July with Purple Angels should go. We went, I think I went last year, and it was kind of a colder July, but it was still super fun. We sang Christmas songs. We all got cookies and treats. Very fun. Thanks, Marina. Okay, next is South Granville Senior Center. I'm not sure if anybody from South Granville's here today. If Rachel's here, please speak out, let me know. But we do have some slides from them to share. And I think, Eric, do you have a couple points that they emailed to us?
Yeah. And yeah, maybe if you show those and if there's anything more that these don't cover, I'll just add that in.
Okay.
Okay.
So South Granville has been doing memory support programs, and I'm just going to read off of these slides. They're saying that they recognize that care comes through community. Programs support individuals' memories centered in the belief that taking care of one's mind involves building these important connections. We offer various fun programs that allow people to find support in one another, get creative, and engage their minds. The Happy Memories Cafe. This is one that a lot of people on our team joined and saw. It was really wonderful. But South Granville is very unique in the Spanish language programming. One of the programs is the Happy Memories Cafe. This group provides Spanish-speaking seniors a place to check in about their lives, build friendships, and do fun, brain-stimulating activities with one another. Memory Cafe provides individuals facing challenges with memory and their caregivers a space to make new connection through fun, creative activities that benefit brain health as well as mental health and well-being. These activities include painting, tactile crafts such as weaving, fun games that encourage storytelling and mind stimulation. And brain games activities offer engaging exercises to promote cognitive health and well-being. These fun-filled sessions foster friendly competition, social interaction, and mental acuity enhancement. These activities include games such as Scrabble, trivia, and Rummy Cub. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I feel like I should know. And the Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Group, started by two individuals who wanted to continue supporting each other and those going through similar situations. The Alzheimer's Caregiver Support Group provides caregivers a space to share about their experiences with and feelings about supporting their loved ones with Alzheimer's disease. So you can check out some of their programs. I think their website is also linked on the Building Capacity Project site. And they do lots of really amazing things. Anytime I've ever been there, it's very lively. It smells like great food being cooked. And oh, that's the next one. But yeah, those are some updates from them. Did I miss anything, Eric?
No, that covers it.
Okay. I'm going to go back to our little agenda slide to see who goes next. Okay, next is, yes, thank you, and clapping for South Granville. And hello to Dana, who can't be here today, but she'll see this recording later. Next is Ask Friendship Society. I'm also not sure if anyone here, anyone from Ask is here today.
Yep, I think Mina is here.
Is Mina here?
Yep, I think so.
I know that she
I
RSVP'd.
thought I saw her name.
Mina, are you here? We can also do another shout out at the end.
May have had to leave. I think she popped in earlier. I saw her name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get an update from her later and we can send that out along with notes from this to everybody. But we'll move along to Burnaby Neighborhood House, and Sarah's here with some updates.
Thank you so much, and hello everyone. I would like to give some updates about our friendly dementia cafes. We are having every second Thursday in the month. One is in Brentwood House and also at South House. Also on Saturday we have a seniors memory cafe. So I would like to say that Dementia Friendly Cafe is a safe space for individuals with dementia and caregivers too. to socialize and share experience and to have access to different information and resources. The Seniors Memory Club is a weekly multicultural dementia-friendly club with games, exercise, socializing, storytelling. It's typically on Saturdays. Also, we have Minds in Motion. It's a fitness and social program, but this program is for people who is in the early stage in dementia and their care partners. We have in this club we have session in Cantonese and Mandarin in South House. So we actually my coworker who is leading these groups is not here, but I am not directly working with them, but I had the opportunity to work with Paulina and the amazing resources that they brought to us. I work with seniors, directly with seniors in busy housing buildings, and it was a really good experience to have this kind of resources, because our seniors in busy housing, they are facing like their early dementia stage, so we can advise them with different resources, with the community resources, connected them with different organizations where they can find more information and also resources. And also we can now we can understand how they can feel and the state they can be facing in this in their life. So it was so nice to have Paulina all the resources, because as a community workers we need to know as well how they feel, how they can react, how we need to react, or how we should react to help them, and also what kind of approach we can have with the people who is facing dementia. So thank you so much, Paulina, and all the team. We are so glad to work with all the resources that you bring every time to us. So we are happy to be in contact with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for coming today. And I think the Jeopardy game that Myrna you were mentioning that Anya came up with, I think that we played that with you, Sarah, and some people at one of the BC housing sites
Yes,
last summer, and that was really fun. It
yes,
really does get people excited when there's a prize to win and you get little groups of people. Yeah,
yes.
that's it's happening in different places
And
too.
also I would like to add with this game, they are aware how and they maybe ask them by themselves. This is a sign that I can recognize to me that I am facing dementia or something like that, because most of our seniors they live alone. They are without family around them. So yeah, it was so nice. Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, next we've got the Dementia Co-Creation Academy, and Farhad is here on behalf of that group, and we've got lots of good photos to share from. I'm just gonna
Sure. Okay. Hello, everyone.
over.
It's a real pleasure to see many of you after such a long time. Unfortunately, Faryar was unable to take time off from work this afternoon, but she sends her warmest regards to you all. So let's start with our first and most recent update, which is the Dementia Co-Creation Academy exhibition held last Saturday. This event showcased several community art projects, co-created projects, made possible. This exhibition was possible through our partnership with the Burnaby Stride Festival and our work connecting the festival to the team in Dania home. So on March 28th, we displayed 12 participatory artworks at both Dania Home and the Burnaby Shadbolt Center for the Arts, where we also introduced the Dementia Inclusion Action Guide to our visitors. We were honored to be joined by Mariko, Mario, and Paulina from this group on Saturday. Also, Gloria Parvin from UBC, and three of City of Burnaby councillors who celebrated these achievements alongside our members and the DCCA community.
Nice.
Okay.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
these are some photos from Saturday. Thank you, Paulina, for including all those pictures. The second update is we developed a paper, a research paper case study titled Co-Creation Through Recreation, Crafting Dementia-Inclusive Communities, which was founded on our practice-based evidence from the past 2 years. Faryar and I presented this work last September in person at the Redefined Success International Conference at the Singapore University of Social Sciences. Similar presentations were also delivered to the Asset-Based Community Development Institute at DePaul University in Chicago and the City of Burnaby Access Committee this past February. I think Mario was on that presentation as well. Thank you, Mario. Finally, following management change at Rideau Retirement Residence, which we normally have our sessions there. Our sessions have been on hold since February, pending new arrangements. Hopefully we can have that new arrangements so we can resume soon. In the meantime, we are exploring various grant opportunities for future projects. To support this, we recently joined forces with a team of community practitioners and a senior research planner at Simon Fraser University to launch a new society called True Network Community Solutions. We will keep you updated on the progress, and I think my time is over. That's all for now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Farhad. It's exciting to hear about everything that's happening. And it was really nice to see both you and Faryar.
Thank you.
This past weekend. And nice to see the connections again. Good to see Mario there.
Yeah. Thank
Sorry, I'm going back to the main slide. Okay, moving along more. Now we're going to hear from Andrea about the Dunbar Residents Association and the Fireweed Club.
Thanks, Paulina. Nice to see everyone. It's been a long time since I've seen many of you. So thank you for organizing this because it truly is like old home week for many of us in the early days. I think if it's okay, I'll start with the Fireweed Club. Is that okay, Paulina? Since that's still an active project. So we were part of the initial pilot funding when building capacity started and used those funds at that time through the Dunbar Residents Association that was part of the Westside Seniors Hub partners to build an accessible garden box on an existing community garden space so that seniors could participate. That was really the days of coming out of COVID lockdown and when most community centers, senior centers were still not able to meet indoors. So it was just very good timing that we had the garden space available and the garden box built so that we could meet outside at the park. And many of you were also there when we had a seniors fair at the park to celebrate everyone's initial projects from this first pilot seed funding. And after that, you can show the next slide if you'd like, Paulina. We were able to have South Granville continued and still continues to have gardening activities, although not in a park, They are still growing plants in their apartments, and then they come together and have an annual plant sale and fun. And Pacific Spirit United Church also has a garden, and they've come and had plants, so they continue to use plants from the garden. At this time, we are not operating as the funds have not continued. And unfortunately, with the politics that were happening between the Park Board and City of Vancouver, it just wasn't really conducive at the time. So we are very grateful that UBC is continuing on the Fireweed Club through a nature walking program at UBC. So we can at least, as another beautiful spring season is upon us, get back outside and build from there. And we are still looking for a sponsor for the park, but I think we'll wait and see what happens in the fall to see if we have a more conducive political environment. The other project through the Residents Association, I'm no longer part of that association, but certainly is still something of interest, was looking to have a monthly memory cafe at the library, having different topics about brain health and guest speakers and so on. There's been staff changes through the libraries, so that hasn't happened at this time, but still continuing to pursue that as there's new branch heads and liaisons for that. So hopefully that one we'll see that happen in 2026. But so happy to see so many of you today and so many new faces as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrea. That was great. I love to see these photos. And today doesn't feel super like spring here, but I know it's coming. Yeah, for Granville, it's probably even colder where you are too.
18 inches of snow.
Ooh, still? Oh my gosh.
Still.
Yeah, you got some more time to go. It's on its way. Okay, I'm gonna do my thing where I back up through it all again. And now we'd like to hear from the Westside Seniors Hub. And I think Lynn had to go, but we've got Mary Jane here, I think.
For sure. Can you hear me?
Yep, sounds good.
So, great to see everybody today and just an honor to be back with everybody. We had the pleasure and really an honor to be involved in the very beginning of sowing the seeds for the Building Capacity Project through our partners in the Westside Seniors Hub, 5 of whom are represented here today, and there's many references by you as partners to other partners that you're collaborating with. And that's what we're all about, trying to build the capacity in the community. And it was such a productive series of first discussions that we had with UBC and pulling our partners together in some of our quarterly partners meetings with the great examples that I remember, Allison, you linked us up with in Seattle, the Sunshine Coast, so that we could demonstrate what was possible, so that UBC could speak directly to our partners and have a sense of what the potential is and has been. And the stories that are being told today are a credit to all of that effort. So it's just an honor to be there at the beginning in 2019 and sustain the kind of work that took place through that challenging COVID time period. In terms of successes, the successes are really the kinds of stories that are being told today by the individual partners and the range of activities to build those dementia-friendly communities. Our role is more as information brokers, so we continue to tell the stories of our partners through our newsletter, through our website that's in the process of being updated. We were grateful early on to receive some of that small seed funding to do an upgrade on our website and to begin to tell those stories more effectively. And we continue to do that. It's a quarterly newsletter put out by 100% volunteers. One of our successes is, though, through the United Way and their many connector positions, we have been able to get a half-time position to support our work in a seniors resource connector who would have been here today, but she's on some well-earned holidays. Challenges, and I always see them as opportunities. And Allison, I go back to what you spoke to in terms of some of the policy perspectives you presented early on. With our lead partner, and Thais is on the call, we are trying to open doors to more successfully within the Vancouver area ensure that the potential of social prescribing and those community connector positions that the Ministry of Health has funded through the United Way are used to ensure that seniors get the advantages of the kinds of activities that everybody's talking about today that have been going on in the community. And thank you, Allison, for that challenge to infuse into that discussion when we more successfully and collaboratively are around the table with the primary care networks, I think, in the Vancouver Coastal Health system to raise the issues around dementia and put some of those challenges out to see that as something that shouldn't just be a sideline in discussions, but infused quite directly into the accessing the resources that community can offer to support the social determinants of health with seniors. I think that's pretty well it. We continue to work on broader issues and have those learnings that we're hearing today and those early conversations resonating on dementia when we work on sharing information and supporting our partners in the wider community on initiatives related to housing choices, transportation challenges that all seniors are facing, citizens are facing, seniors, and those particularly with challenges living with diagnosis of dementia. Any of our partners want to, Andrea, anything you want to add on some of that? I think that's all I will say, just to say it was an honor to be involved in the beginning, and we will continue through our advocacy, collaborative work through the Older Persons and Elders Advisory Committee, take all of our learnings that are really infused now in the work that the lenses that we bring to the discussions on broader issues well beyond dementia, but to make sure that those learnings are brought into those discussions. Thank you. Thank you to everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Mary Jane. It's great to have your support all the way from the beginning. It does go very far back now, but before COVID. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Actually, before we move on to Brockhouse, because Mary Jane did mention learning from the Sunshine Coast, we have partners from the Sunshine Coast who weren't able to come today. We were partnered with the Gibson Senior Society and Sunshine Coast Resource Center. They've had some people come and go through those organizations, and I think the Gibson Senior Society, the main people are on a big vacation right now, which is great for them. But we'll hear from them, I think, later, and I can try and include that in whatever message I send later. So Brockhouse, I think they've got some exciting things going on.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
This is Eda, and joining from Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, People's Lands on the Point Grey area. We are very close to UBC and partnering actively with Kitsilano Neighborhood House and Seniors, Westside Seniors Hub. So it's wonderful to see our collaborators here. And of course, UBC, Allison and Eric are here. We couldn't do this without them. Mine definitely, as the executive director here, I've been seeing the needs, and we do offer over 100 programs every season, from recreational activities to languages and art classes. But we didn't have something for folks experiencing dementia. And luckily, through Andrea, who's not here, I don't think today, and what nursing department at UBC have been doing. And I'm someone with a background in community development. Capacity building was like, okay, this is how we do things. And I get so excited. And we had a meeting, and so we applied for a grant. And thanks to also South Granville Senior Center for sharing some of their resources. We applied for CUES funding and we received it. So we are just taking baby steps. We are nowhere close to where you folks are, but very helpful to see what you see as working. We'll definitely learn from your experiences and hopefully implement something unique to this community, because I know that this program is very flexible, like a booster building mindset. So you plant it and it grows in a new community in a new way. So I'm really excited to see how that's gonna unfold. And I'm looking actively for supporting grants, and so that's happening in the background. But right now we are working with what we have, and then also we have very active volunteer capacity at Brockhouse. We already have folks interested in, and I'm really looking forward to them taking roles to support this, and hopefully with the UBC's also expertise, will set the foundation nice and strong here. So looking forward to it, and you may hear from us because now I have the list. I know that you know more about this wonderful work than us, and we look forward to learning from you and connecting further. Thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Eda. I look forward to working with you more too. I think this is the first time I've met you, but we're gonna have a meeting, I think, tomorrow. So I'm excited.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that wraps up this part of the meeting, and I think we're actually on good schedule right now. I'm gonna move our slides to the very end. I get to look at all the pictures really quickly again. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'll hand it back to Allison.
Great. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I think we should all just take a moment and just be with what we've just heard. I don't know about you, but my heart and my mind is full. And I love how we ended with you, Ada. The energy and a bit of funding and this vision looking forward to doing something with baby steps. And we love baby steps because we've all done them.